Hi guys, it's that time of the month. It's actually just past Christmas time, however. This did arrive just before Christmas time, but obviously I had other things going on, so it's sat there waiting for me. But we have magazines 95, 96, 97 and 98 and a assembly check one, because this one sees us able to complete the whole armour into a standing position. So I suspect the last two episodes are just going to be finalising these bits, which are like the twisty torso bits, which allow for extra poses and such. So we're going to jump straight into magazine 95 and start assembling. So in this magazine we've got abdomen chest connector, a right side plate, a left side plate, a front abdominable armour, and an internal connection support and some screws. 3 packets of screws, all UP, IP and LP, all screwing into plastic. The first thing we do is we take these two bits right here, and these join together, and it's a little bit tricky. It took me a little bit of head scratching and like a jigsaw puzzle. But how these join together is, if you look at this in this orientation, let's zoom in so you can see what's going on. In this orientation with this sweeping curve uppermost, and then this one with the point going up this way, and look for where the lines match up. Now this tab, if you get it on the wrong side, obviously those lines won't match up. Get it on the right side, they will. You need to pop those together like so, flip them over this away so that the this bit is pointing down. Whoops, a little bit tricky to hold. And then, if I can actually hold that in place, we take the screwdriver and the IP screw. No, an LP screw, apologies. And whoop, put that through here. You can actually see when you put these together that one of these holes is smaller than the other. Obviously, you're putting the screw through the larger hole and screwing it into the smaller hole because it won't bite onto the plastic of the larger hole, which should be quite apparent. So that's that bit done. Next we take the internal connection support. This is obviously just a strengthening piece, and it fits over these two posts here like so, and we use 2 IP screws for this one. This sits on like so, and then we just pop these in here. And tighten them, but obviously not too much because we're going into plastic. And this clearly just provides a support shelf. So this is where we're at. We've got this bit done. We now need a part from the previous build, which is this part right here. Let's zoom back out a little bit for you. And this is the part that we built in the last magazine, which demonstrates the twist. This has got a little release spring on the back. And this fits in like this. So it fits in over the top of this, I'm assuming. I'm guessing it must do. And then we've got a screw hole down here, which this one's quite obviously, yeah. Oh, hang on. Ah, okay. I'm just going to scoot down so you can see this is a couple of little tabs. So, right down here, hopefully you can see if I get that on the screen, here and here you've got 2 little tabs, and this plate needs to slot under those tabs, like so. So, there you go. With that in, we flick over the page and we need an LP screw which goes into here. We then need part 95B, which is this smaller piece of armour. This one's actually quite straightforward because it's shaped. So as you can see, with the shape of it, this is like a simplified jigsaw. It can only go in one particular way, like so. And you have a little slot up here, which hopefully, can you see that? Tricky one. Let's see if we can get that focused. So a little slot just up here. So this slots in like so, which is obviously going to use another LP screw, and yes it does. So we get another LP screw. That means we've used all of the LPs out of the packet. That leaves, we've used the IPs out of the packet, so that just leaves us with 2 UPs to fit. So we'll find out where they go in just a moment. So let's pop this one into here, holding that in place while we do so. Next we need this bit, 95A, and with this way up, we put this in this way up, and does this fit above or underneath these? It must fit above because it's got larger holes. Or does it slot into anything? Not that I can see. This looks like it just slots in and over. There's no kind of other locating tabs. And 2 UP screws, which are slightly longer, which kind of makes sense, which go into and through this tab and this tab accordingly. Now unfortunately that's just cracked. That's a nuisance. And I didn't particularly over tighten that either, but the actual clip, the screw hole, is very close to the edge of that. That's just cracked, so I will probably need to put a drop of super glue on that. That's slightly infuriating, but it still feels fairly rigid, and obviously once the back's on it should be okay. So that's us done with this magazine. That's magazine 95 done. Let's zoom back out. So let's put that to one side and we'll move on to magazine 96 and see what's going on in here. This is where we start putting the legs together by the look of things. It is indeed. We've got an awful lot going on in here. So let's get the bits. So we've got 3 more packets of screws, lots of screws in a couple of them. We've got 2 felt pads with adhesive backings. We've got some sticky pads. We've got the rear of this twisty butt piece. I believe looks like the bit that goes in here. There, if we did it the right way around, that would. Yeah, so that's this bit that's going to go in here. And then we've got some other bits which are springs and such. This is going to be the switch for the release lever. So we need the back plate, we need the spring, and we need this, and then we need the actual switch itself, which is obviously going to sit in there like the other one, but this is obviously shaped. So pop that in there, pop the spring on to the protruding stub like so, and then this will fit across. If you look at this with this on, you've got 2 indents, and this hole is not centered, so it goes on in a particular way, and the indents go down there to locate onto those pegs to give it a good firm base for your push button. And then we need 2 IP screws, which go into these. And that gives your button the springiness it needs. Next up, we take this portion from magazine 95 and we connect this, noticing one side is flat and one side is shaped exactly like this one, so there's an obvious orientation to how that goes, and this should slot together. This has got 2 locating grooves here and here, which is clearly where this bit locates, and it's just a matter, hopefully, of wiggling it into place. And then this bottom bit also has a locating groove down here, so Let's see if we can get it to play nicely. Right, I'm going to have a look a bit deeper into this because this is awkward, so I want to make sure that I'm not going to break something in the process, and I'll be back shortly. I can see what I've done now. I can see why this wasn't working. I'd noticed that this was right up against this metal plate. Let's zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. So this tube here was right up against this metal plate, and the other bit needed to butt against that to screw onto. And the reason it wouldn't is I put this, when I fitted it, to the wrong side of this tab. It needs to go to this side. So I'd fitted it this way up and fitted that to the wrong side, and that actually needs to go that side. I suspect it's me that's read the instructions incorrectly, but I will go back and double check, putting that back on the right side and screwing that in again, but from the other side, and hopefully that's not going to choke too much plastic. We'll put that back together. We would then go back to this and pop this back on accordingly, remembering of course that you can actually see how close that hole is there, why that one's cracked, so I need to be very careful when I screw that one back in. So I'm not actually going to do that right this minute, because I'm going to place this in place and hopefully it's going to behave much more nicely for me now and just slot into place. And if it does, then I can put those screws back in. So they go into the two tabs there as mentioned, and there's also a slot back here that this metal one goes into, which adds some rigidity, and I can see that that's already fitting better than it was. And a little bit of tweaking and twiddling, and this should all marry together much more politely. That looks better. Let's get some screws into this, and let's see what we can make it look like. So this goes into here, into here. I've got to say, this is the most difficult part that I've actually assembled of this build as yet. So where did that other screw go? There you are. Let's pop you back in here, and that should kind of help align you a little. Yeah, that's a bit better. This moulding defect I mentioned earlier, I've just noticed that's actually going to have a panel covering it, which I believe is this one. Yeah, that's brilliant. So I'll not have to worry about that. I was a little bit concerned about that. And we need 2 UP screws. So we need the tough, sturdy ones. UP, so with the coarse threads. And this is where I'm going to need the longer driver. Yeah, definitely. I just noticed there, if you press on that bit there, this button tends to stick in as well, so you must remember to sort of press on the top of that where the little divoty bit is, which is obviously where the spring tension is as well. Well, that was a little bit of a chore, and we've got these 2 decorative panels which simply snap into place, which hopefully don't snap in too thoroughly in case I need to remove them in the future, like so, and that hides that little blemish nicely, although that panel itself seems to have a blemish on it. Let's give that a quick buff, and I think that'll buff out. That'll buff right out. Excellent. So as you can see, we've got twisty waist, which is sort of twisting down to the left. Whew! Well, that was a bit of a whew, that one, but we're there. We're sorted out. I'm going to see if I can just encourage that one off and tighten that up a little bit, because that's kind of twisted. There we go. That's better. And the good news there is I know that that will pop off. Excellent. So there we go. Oh my word, that was a chore and a half. Right, we're not finished with this one because magazine 96 has got a ton of steps, because we're assembling all the legs and the leg joint bits. The next thing we need are the right and left leg thingamabobs with the ball joints, so I need to dig into my box and find those. We've got the butt piece just here. This is obviously where that bit will snap on. So yeah, we like that. Oh yeah. So we'll pop that to one side because we're probably going to need that in a bit. We've got this and this, and get them in the correct orientation. So we've got right and left accordingly. We need some KP screws. We have got 4 equidistant spaced holes and 1 odd one in the middle, and that is clearly where that locating peg slots into, thusly, like so. But I think we're going to need the other bit. Does it show it? Yes, 96G, so that's these bits. I think these are both the same. So we take one of those, pop it into there. So that's that little washer with the domed dish bit. Just goes in with the dish side towards the ball, and then we splonk this onto here. Ooh, come on. We pop the locating peg into the middle thingamadoofer, and then we throw in some screws, and we can obviously adjust the tension with said screws. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be back with you momentarily. Obviously we need to tighten this so it's tight enough that the legs can hold in place. So I don't want to over tighten this just now, but I don't want to make it so that I can't access them at a later date. That's reasonably tight. I'm going to go ahead and do the same with the next one. So that's 2 of them done, and they seem reasonably tight. For the moment, we're going to pop the remainder of these screws back into the bag. We're obviously going to need some more of those because there's lots more of them. What we're going to do now is screw these together, it appears. And these have got locating pegs, as you can see. So 3 locating pegs and 3 according divots for the pegs to fit into, thusly. And then we will need 3 LP screws. These are another one we've got lots of, so we are going to need more, clearly, for something else. So, 3 LP screws. That's the 2 halves together with the leg joints, and now we get this in the correct orientation. So this in this orientation, this in this orientation, and that slots up into there, just simply slots in and is held with friction, which surprises me. I would have thought that would have been screwed in, but it seems to hold quite well. I'm just going to tighten those up a little bit more. So we've got this in this orientation. We have got this, which is the right in this orientation. It has 2 locating pegs in the legs. One is smaller, one is larger. So this needs to be rotated so that the larger one goes into the back, like so. And the front one is the one with the little bulge, whereas the rear one doesn't have the bulge, as you can see. So that's the right one, and obviously sloped so that it can bend out like so. You can access these by the look of it to tighten up the legs, the leg joints, hopefully after it's been assembled. We'll see, because there might need to be some adjusting and some tightening going on there. So we put that in there, and we put the front onto it. Obviously that locates into the other slot, like so. Smashing. And then we've got a screw goes in there and a screw goes in here. KP screws for the top, one on both sides, and that one's a little bit fiddly by the look, but that looks like you're going to need to do a little bit of twiddling. So we'll pop a couple of those in. We're going to try and get this one in first because this looks to be the more awkward of the two. So that's not too bad as it turns out. So that's a KP screw into there until that's just tight enough. Don't want to over tighten that. And then we're going to pop another one into the outside, as it were. Okay. That one was a little bit fiddly. It was actually pushing it away at first before it bit into it. So be wary of that. Obviously you don't want to go and break that. But that's the right hand side one. And then we need what's the one for the front? A GP screw for the front, which is a large coarse threaded one. So we'll get one of those out. We've got a heap of those, so I'm assuming that we're going to be using a lot of these on the legs themselves. Come on, just give me one. That's all I need. So this goes into the front here. And then I'm going to repeat the process on this side. That's the leg bits completed in the sense of we've got these two thigh bits together. I've got 3 KP screws left, so clearly we've still got use for 2 of them. I'm just going to pop those back into the packet for now until I know where the others are going. And now we have the decorative covers, which look like they just snap into place, and if that's the case, that's quite handy because they should equally pop off as easily as they pop on. Again, you've got a narrow and a wide tab which correspond, the wide at the bottom, narrow at the top, and it looks like indeed these just pop on to these. Okay. Nice, that looks good. And same with that one. What I'm going to do is give them a little bit of a wiggle because I don't want them to be too tight, because I've got a feeling I'm going to need to pop those off to adjust the tension on these. I think these are probably going to be too slack just at the moment, but I'd rather have them too slack to start with and then adjust them up later. So that's that. So we've got the sides on, and next we need the 2 adhesive discs, which are kind of like little furry adhesive discs. What purpose do they serve, I wonder? I'm not entirely sure that they serve a purpose at all, I've got to say, other than prettifying this, because the legs go around these. I'm going to leave those off for the moment because they're nice little furry things, and they're potentially Tamiya bike seat material for the race bikes. But we'll see. I mean, if I get the legs on and then I discover that that they really need to be on, then, you know, it's all good. We'll put them on. I don't think they're going to serve much of a purpose. Okay, I guess the idea is it's going to kind of cushion the bottom of that a little bit. I think that's probably what the thinking is. Yeah, it's just going to give that a little bit of cushioning and a little bit of grip as you rotate it. But I think if that's tight enough, we'll probably not need it. So let's zoom out a bit so you can actually see what's going on, because we've got big components going on here. Yeah, I'm going to try it without and see what it looks like. So let's have a look. So we've already got these. It shows you putting the flappy bits on the legs. These literally just snap on. And I fitted these ages ago, and I did wonder at the time, while they were there and there was nothing else to impede them, why did it not just show you fitting them? But for some reason it didn't, and it's just showing you fitting them now. So anyway, that's the leg flap things. You've got this with the tabs either side, and then you've got this slot, and obviously it goes into that slot, and because of those tabs it can only rotate a given amount. like so. So let's zoom back out for you. What we need next is the other half of the leg, and obviously that pops in accordingly. So we've popped that off nice and easily. I'm still not overly happy about that joint there, this one right here, because it's a bit flimsy. I've not found a way to strengthen it easily, so you know, it is what it is, and we'll just have to be careful with it for now, and I can always look at doing something with that at a later date should the need arise. So what I'm going to do now is pop those two halves together, which should seat together nicely, and then we're going to have to put 4 screws into here, obviously, and those screws will be GP screws, 4 GP screws. I will have to cut the video at this point. I'm going to go ahead and put the GP screws in, but my battery is flashing red and we'll need to recharge it because I don't have a spare for this one. I will be back shortly and we will continue with the left leg and then adding all the trim pieces. So we're back after the battery's juiced up again, and I'm going to, having just looked through the footage, there's actually quite a lot of footage already, so I'm going to complete the leg bits, and then I'm actually going to split this video up into 2 because it's already about half-hour long as it is without me adding this extra little bit. So 97 and 98 are going to be in a separate video. So we have got both legs fitted, as you can see, 4 screws in each, and then these plates simply press into place to cover these. I might actually need to, do I need to remove those again to add some of the decorative plates? I will find out soon enough, but we'll assume for the moment not, hopefully. Down here we've got this which goes on the back of the leg, and this which goes on the front of the leg. Is this for the right? This one's for the right. So this one is going to go on here, and you can see that there's screw points for that to fit on. We need to take the rear decorative plate, which is metal, and we need to put this piece on, which simply presses into place. That's a plastic piece, and that presses in and fits in quite nicely. Also comes out quite nicely as well. Something I've noticed, and something that might be worth you looking at, is this piece here on the left knee kept coming out. It wasn't a tight fit at all. What I've done is I've fitted it using what's called a dial dot. They're actually strips in my case, and they're very similar to this kind of thing, which is double-sided adhesive, and they're designed to fix dials onto watch movements that don't have watch feet to affix them in place. And talking about this, we'll look at this in a moment because I omitted this from an earlier part of the video, as I mentioned in the little text box description. So what I've done is I've used one of these dial dots or dial strips. You can get them very cheaply and plentifully, and they're useful for so many things. So I would recommend grabbing yourself some of those anyway. And what I will probably end up doing is any other bits like this that might be a little bit loose like that one and just fall out, is I will also use them for these, because they will still peel away, but they won't fall off as readily as that one is doing right now. There was an omission which mentioned it's this crotch under crotch piece here, and I said how it fitted in, and it was just a friction fit, and it seemed reasonably good friction wise, and it did. It wasn't bad. However, what I missed is these little strips. These are double-sided adhesive strips, and what the instructions call for is to wrap these strips around each of these posts. So if we kind of scoot down here so you can see what's going on, but that one's actually coming apart quite well. So that's just the covering, that's one side. So we need to wrap 2 of these around this post accordingly, and once you've stuck one side down, you should be able to peel the other backing, he says, using a scalpel blade. See if I can separate that a little bit easier, because these can be awkward. It's just kind of, there we go. It's just kind of a case of getting them started. And once you've got them started, they peel off very, very easily, like so. And then we just need to wrap this around. And this obviously just gives it a little bit of extra grip. It does seem, frankly, a little bit Heath Robinson, given all of the other fasteners, and I would have actually expected something a little bit better, like these screwing in through this section here, which, you know, could easily have done, but it's a minor gripe. You know, it's not the end of the world or anything, so we can live with it. And then we do the same with the rear one. Another observation while we're down here, having just done that and put this crotch piece back in, it looks like I could have achieved the same result by putting one strip on the actual flat portion, because obviously as I've pushed it into the slots, all it's actually done is it's squashed them up, and it has stuck. You know, it's done what it should do, as you would expect, and it's not going to fall off. But you know, one of those strips could have done the same job. Let's look at the front pieces. So we need one of these, which is a decorative part, and this is obviously held in place by a couple of screws, and those screws are IP screws. And then this bit here, which just simply presses into place, hopefully without any fuss. If I've got this on the right, I've got this on the right. Yes, I have the right leg. Come on now. There we go. And that just presses into there, like so. The next step is for me to repeat this on the left leg with the rear piece and the front piece, and I'll be back in a moment with that. Just a quickie here, we're on the left leg, and I just wanted to quickly show you the dial dots or dial strips. Essentially, they look like this right down here. So they're quite simple in that they are just a double-sided adhesive. Apologies if that's a bit bright, and that you can just see the reflection of that one, which is stuck on there, and then it just presses in. So it's essentially it's the same idea as these 3M strips. Surprisingly, they've only supplied enough double-sided adhesive pads for this issue, for this magazine. So you get precisely enough for the crotch piece and the 2 back pieces. So do not waste any, ladies and gents. Be careful with those, there are no spares. So that's those, they're nice and secure and solid. I can now flip that back over. You can see we've got the right hand leg on, I've just got the left one to do now. So we're here with the legs completed. They're all completed, I just need new batteries for the repulsors in the boots. And we've got the crotch piece securely fitted now. We've got all the decorative parts of the armour fitted, and essentially these are the legs all completed. They have a lot of movement. You can have Iron Man doing the splits, doing a dramatic UK politician power stance. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, just Google Theresa May and power stance for a good giggle. And there we go. And of course we've got the articulation with all the flappy bits for flight purposes and stuff. Real flight is not guaranteed. Don't go throwing your Iron Man figure out of the window, please. I accept no responsibility for those who do. So that's that, but we've still got loads of screws left, so there must be more. So I'm going to flip over the page and see what we got. What's left? So the other leg, we've done that because I did both together. Breakdown of the hips for position B2. So that's obviously the bit we've just done. Breakdown of the calves, we've done. Connection between the right leg and hip joints. Union between blah, 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 blah. And that looks like it. So bizarrely, we've got loads of loads of extra spare screws. We've got 2 spare GP, 2 spare KP, 4 spare LP and 2 spare IP, unless I have missed some screws somewhere. Okay, that seems to be it complete. That's magazine number 96 complete with a smashing pair of legs. Let's zoom out so you can view them in their full glorious beauty. Work it, Iron Man. There you go. So there's Iron Man legs. They look good. They're bendy. They're Iron Man-y. You can put them in funny poses. They've got bendy toes. They've got flappy articulated bits. They look great. I, for one, cannot wait until we actually get the butt and the abdomen and click it all together and make it look good. But right this moment, I can't do that because I need to break this video at this point and actually create a new video for the next bit, because this video is already going to be over half an hour long. So thank you for watching, guys. Please tune in for the next one. If you enjoyed this video, you know, all the usual stuff, thumbs up, leave a comment, ask any questions. Even if I can't answer it, I'll make something up. Well, no, that's not true. I will try and answer it to the best of my ability. And I always like interacting with people on the comment section, so please ask away. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.